Hey everyone! At the time of this recording, Soul Hackers 2 has just been released worldwide, and just like what I did for SMT5, I thought it would be fun to do an unscripted first impressions video while I work on my official review. Just like last time, I'm going to be joined by a couple of guests who will be introduced in a moment, but before that, there are a few things that I want to clarify. The first half of this discussion will be focused entirely on the gameplay, and will be primarily spoiler-free. All footage you'll be seeing throughout this video is going to be from the early game, with cutscenes and story-related boss battles edited out. However, be warned that once we start talking about the story, we'll be diving deep into spoiler territory. I'll be sure to give a warning beforehand and mark that section of the video with a spoiler tag, in case you don't want to hear any of that. The last thing that I want to mention is that I received a review copy of this game from Sega and Atlus. However, all thoughts and opinions expressed in this video are purely my own. With all that said and done, let's get started. For today's video, I'm joined by my friends Fither and Tony For You. So why don't you guys introduce yourselves?
Hey guys, I'm Tony For You. I make SMT and Persona content, everything from explaining the lore of the games, reviews, and breaking down the hierarchy of heaven itself.
Hi, hello. I'm Fither. I'm mostly a JoJo's Bizarre Adventure channel, but every now and again I talk about Atlus stuff. What's up?
Anyways, as I was saying, we all got codes for Soul Hackers 2, and we all had a chance to play it. I played it on the PlayStation personally. How about you guys?
I played it on Steam.
I got mine on PS5.
Man, y'all both have PS5? What the hell?
Yeah. It took me so fucking long to get one because I got mine during the first wave where it was like really fucking difficult to get. So I just like sort of hung out on like Best Buy, just refreshing all day.
I don't even want to talk about how I got mine, bro.
Anyway, since Soul Hackers 2 is out and we actually all had a chance to play it, I figured that we could get together and talk about it. But before that, I kind of want to discuss our thoughts on the original game at first. Because I'm not sure about you guys, but I thought the first Soul Hackers was pretty fine. Like, I liked it, but I didn't expect to get a sequel. What are you guys' thoughts on like the first Soul Hackers, if you guys played it?
Alright, yeah, I have played Soul Hackers 1. It's a game that I'd say I like. It's definitely not one of my like favorites in the series, but you know, I like the aesthetic and it has some fun characters, and you know, I just really like the very 90s cyberpunk kind of setting it has going on. So yeah, it's a game that I like. It's not really one that I had that much fun playing necessarily, but you know, I liked it overall, I would say.
Yeah, I thought that's kind of the same how I feel. I think the visual design and like art direction is probably its strongest aspect.
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely hate the original Soul Hackers. Everybody probably already knows if they know about me. I think it's the second worst SMT game I've ever played.
What's the worst?
SMTF is definitely the worst.
Okay, I need to play that one.
No, you don't need to play that one. That one's awful, man.
That's a matter of philosophy.
You gotta experience that one, I'll say that much. I made an entire video explaining my problems with the game, but so much of the game was just underwhelming. The only good part was the setting, and the intro got you hooked really well, but it just dropped like a rock, to be honest. So seeing that it got a sequel, it was odd to me.
Yeah, well, I guess that just sort of leads into the second question I had. What was your guys' initial reaction on Soul Hackers 2? Because for me personally, I wasn't actively following those live streams where they were teasing a new game. I only really decided to tune in once I saw that this was the stream where they were going to announce that project. And a lot like other people, I thought that my initial impressions, they were positive, but I agree that the game looked radically different, and I was sort of taken aback by that. I didn't think it looked bad, but it was definitely different.
Yeah, oddly enough, despite how, if it wasn't obviously enough, I don't like Soul Hackers, but I do like Devil Summoner. I'm a big fan of Raido. I was shocked they decided to give a sequel to Soul Hackers of any of the other spin-off games, but for spin-offs, I want to incentivize Atlus to make them, and I was happy they were considering making more games from the spin-off franchises. So if this does well, hopefully I can see more Raido, hopefully we can see more Devil Survivor, Digital Devil Saga-like games, something like that.
Yeah, like, at least for me, the kind of reveal of Soul Hackers 2 is probably one of the biggest, like, curveballs I think Atlus has ever thrown, because you know, in the past they've done stuff like Deep Strange Journey, like updated version of Strange Journey, or they constantly do new Persona stuff, but to see them give, of all things, Soul Hackers a sequel it was just so weird because like that game came out 25 years ago. Very odd.
Yeah, not only was it just like a new Devil Summoner, it was like a Soul Hackers sequel. And you never really expect something like that. Like, you would assume that they would give something like Devil Survivor a sequel first. And I'm not sure if Soul Hackers 1, if it really even did all that well. I know the original Devil Summoner did well. I'm pretty sure the Raito games didn't do all that well, but I'm not too sure about Soul Hackers 1.
I would not be surprised if at least like the 3DS version is probably the worst selling 3DS Megami Tensei.
Yeah, you're probably right about that.
Probably, yeah. It kind of came at the perfect time if you think about it, because we were all kind of wishy-washy about SMT5, and we were thinking, oh, Atlas can't take any risks anymore. Atlas fell off. But seeing Soul Hackers 2, it came at the perfect time to, if anything else, reinstill my faith in the company that they can still like throw a curveball. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. So after that announcement, were you at all looking forward to playing it, or was it just sort of something that was gonna come and you were gonna try eventually? Because I wasn't exactly excited for it. Like, I was interested in playing it, but it wasn't something that like it wasn't on the scale of SMT5 for me. Well, obviously, because I wasn't a huge fan of the original. There was no point where I was like, oh man, I gotta play the new hot Megaten game. It was more like, oh, it's gonna come out and I am gonna try it. But I wasn't actively like looking forward to it or watching any of the trailers or anything like that.
Yeah, honestly, I have this pet theory that Atlas does very well with sequels. If you notice the trend, like Raito 2 is 10 times better than the original Raito. Digital Devil Saga 2 for me was a huge improvement from the original. Even Devil Survivor 2, I actually liked more than the original. So by that same logic, I would have thought Soul Hackers 2 would have been 100 times better than the original. So I was actually really looking forward to this game.
Yeah, as for me, I think this was definitely like a game I was kind of like sleepy on, I guess, because it got revealed. I was like, all right, Soul Hackers 2, that's kind of weird. And it definitely just turned into one of those games that was like, it was gonna come out, but I wasn't really excited for it, right? Like, I wasn't watching the trailers or anything like that. If anything, I think I tried to avoid discourse around this game, because this is definitely one of those games that, like, you combine it being like a sequel to a 90s game and just like modern Atlas and like discourse surrounding stuff. It's like, all right, I'll just not touch this. So if anything, I was almost like avoiding it until it came out.
Oh man, you're so right. It was when this game first got announced, the discussion surrounding it was awful.
Oh yeah, it was bad.
I know you don't use Twitter, Fither, but it got to the point where I was just muting everything to do with that game because I just hated seeing people complain or fight each other on certain decisions. It was so bad.
Oh yeah, no, like when I still used Twitter, like in the dark ages, I had no choice but to mute the word Atlas. Because I don't think I've never in my life seen a tweet in relation to that company be like anything but dreadful.
Oh no.
Yeah. Oh, also for context, when I said I was looking forward to the game, I think hype is usually a pretty bad thing, so I wasn't looking at any of the trailers either. I actually was completely in the dark until I got my review code. I basically only knew that Ringo was in the game. At that point, I didn't even know what her name was. I was just looking forward to it.
Well, now that we all actually got our codes and got a chance to play it, I think before we dive into anything specific, we should give our general impressions. Did you like it or did you not like it?
You go first on this one.
Oh, all right, cool. Yeah, I gotta say, I wasn't too crazy about this one. I think that, like, in recent memory, in the past, like, probably 10 years, honestly, out of, like, Atlas games that I've played and finished, this is probably the one that's, like, left the least amount of impression on me. I think I didn't find it to be bad, necessarily. I just thought it was really, really aggressively alright.
Did you like it more or less than the first one, then?
I think I liked the first one more. The first one has a lot of, like, hokey weirdness to it, but I don't know, I still like it more.
Because for me, I enjoyed this game. Like, I think it's fine. I liked it. I enjoyed my playthrough, but I actually find it to be better than the first, like, on the whole. But there are a lot of issues with this game, things that are both not executed all that well, or things that didn't reach their fullest potential due to a lack of ambition or budget reasons, which I think will be an interesting to talk about. But I did enjoy it, is the thing I took away from it. When I finished the game, I thought, yeah, I liked that, but I don't think I'm gonna play it anytime soon.
I actually enjoyed the game a good deal. There's obviously some serious problems, and I'm sure we'll get into that later, but it was okay. Yeah, I didn't think anything insane about it. It didn't really live up to the quality of like Atlas games that I really like, but I did think it was better than SMT5. Narratively, obviously, gameplay-wise, it was okay. And it's a lot of peaks and valleys. They do about half the game really, really well and half the game very, very questionably.
Yeah, so I think we should just sort of run down the list on that. So on this little note sheet I have right now, we have the gameplay stuff first. So I think we should just pull off the band-aid right away and just talk about the battle system. Like, what'd you guys think of it?
I thought it was really cool. The new Sabbath system reminds me a lot of Demon Co-op from Strange Journey, except there's obviously a little bit more nuance to it rather than just alignment. I had a lot of fun playing around with it, and the slow progression of your character gaining higher stats and new abilities from the Soul Matrix and the comp add-ons were really cool. And by the end, if you got all your mystique set up, you got everything going for you in battle, you can really feel like a powerhouse. It's fun.
Yeah, so like I really liked a lot of the kind of customization aspects of it. Like, I think my favorite thing about it, just like purely gameplay wise, is probably just how you build your characters and like upgrade the comp, and how you have different decisions you can make about like their evolution and stuff. And fusing demons is fun as always. I found the actual like combat and fighting demons to be not that exciting. And I think that's largely just because there's no like press turn or there's no one more system. So even though the Sabbaths are cool, I think otherwise just taking away that like pretty core element of like, you know, Megami Tensei combat, I think it made it just feel like just another RPG in a lot of ways.
Yeah, you mentioned you mentioned Strange Journey, Tony. I actually think it reminds me more of TMS. Since that game did a very similar thing where you exploit a weakness and then you get followed up with a lot of extra damage from your reserve party members, or in this case, your demons. And it feels like a strange combination of TMS and modern Persona in a way. And I don't find what the Sabbath system offers to be nearly as interesting as Press Turn or One More, since I think it doesn't have nearly as much decision making. Like, you play something like Nocturne, SMT5, and you have the Press Turn, right? So you get your weakness hit, you get your extra turn, and what you do with that extra turn opens up a lot of different opportunities, right? You can do buffs, you can heal, you can do even more damage. But for Sabbaths, it's only a case of you hit the weakness, you are guaranteed extra damage at the end of the turn. It doesn't matter what else you do. So from then on, the battle system is built around efficiency. You want to get as many weakness hits as possible to try to scale up as much damage as possible. And while they try to make it interesting with Sabbath skills on demons, like you can get a skill that gives you healing upon a Sabbath hit, but I don't think it's nearly as interesting as what could be done with baton passing from P5 or just extra turns from mainline.
That's a good point. I'd say it's not nearly as nuanced, as you said, as the other games in the series, but I'm kind of a sucker for just a solidly built turn-based combat system. It has more nuance than the average RPG. Obviously, it could be a lot better. I much prefer Press Turn, also Nocturne being one of my favorite games in the series. But as a guy personally who doesn't care too much about gameplay rather than narrative, it served its purpose well enough, and I liked the whole idea of it tying into the narrative of the comps are fundamentally different, so you can't have the same mechanics as the previous game in the chronologically in the series. That was cool to me.
You know, speaking of comps, something that I liked is how much customization there was on the comps and how that tied into character progression. Like, for those who haven't played it, because this is going out close after release, for those who haven't played it, comps basically act as your main source of equipment, and you upgrade them by using materials found from defeating enemies, along with money. And you can give yourself some extra, just regular stats, like, oh, my melee attacks will do extra damage, all that stuff. You get extra demon slots. But there's some interesting abilities you can get, like the character Milady eventually gets the ability to instant kill enemies, like that are low health. That's pretty cool. And of course, there's also stuff like Ringo will naturally get the Pierce skill if you upgrade her comp, which is fun. And I really like how the comps have a mastery mechanic, since it allows you to properly spec into one specific area. And if you focus a lot on it, you can make that the character's main, I guess, priority.
Yeah, that's what I did. Is like essentially I kind of designated each one of these guys as like a certain mage. Like Saizo was my wind guy, like Milady was the fire chick, and from there I kind of just like, you know, customize them so that they're good at specific stuff. Like Ringo, one of her things she can get, which is so good, is like at the start of battle she has a chance of just scanning all the enemies. Like that's so useful. That saves you so much time, and like, God, that ability's really good. So I think that's a lot of fun. It's just like seeing the progression of these characters, how they go from like kind of sort of dinky to being really, really strong at the end. That's pretty fun.
Yeah, that's exactly the same one I got too. Just maxed out the one that, so at the start of every battle, you instantly know all the enemies' affinities. But it still goes beyond that. There's still like, increase gun-based skills by a certain percentage for arrow, let's say. And there's also just increasing the critical hit rates for arrow's gun skills. But only one of those can be mastered at a time. So there is still some decision making when building your characters, and I think that's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was a good time. I had a little bit of trouble with that because I only ever really went to the Compsmith whenever I felt like it. I never really felt like I needed to upgrade my character too much. I just passed by the Gunsmith whenever I thought, oh, I haven't been there in a while, upgraded my attack, saw that I was 1 or 2 off, like a big upgrade, and then just completely forgot about it for the next like 2-3 hours. It was kind of hard to understand what to grind for other than the, oh, you need a Jirai talisman, but it doesn't really tell you what drops that, what level Jirai demon, what percentage. Like a few quality of life patches or something like that, or maybe even a guide that tells you what to do could go a long way.
Yeah, that was definitely a problem I had where like I would have a certain amount of stuff and then I would just never bother to get it, mostly because like I just didn't know how to, right? So yeah, I assume you get like Jirai claws or whatever from Jirai demons, but which ones, you know?
Okay, I'm actually glad you two mentioned that, because there is a thing in the game that tells you that.
Really?
It is, but it's like completely out of the way. It's like hidden within a couple menus. Like there's a dedicated demon log, right? And when you look at that log, it actually tells you what demons drop. And from then on, you can actually mark demons on the overworld, like mark formations. Yeah.
This is like a whole ass mechanic I didn't know
Yeah,
about.
it just doesn't tell you about this. It's like
awesome.
Hidden. Yeah, it tells you where you can find it, like which location they're in, and you can mark them. So if you're wandering around like looking for encounters, if you find the encounter with the marker that you placed, then that demon's gonna be in that formation.
All right, great. Don't live your life the way me and Tony did, I guess. Do this thing.
Yeah,
that's insane.
I only found out at like the end of the game because I was like missing specific materials, and I'm sitting there like, well, how the fuck am I supposed to find this?
A little nitpick I have. This game is one of those modern RPGs where as soon as you open the game, it inundates you with like 20 tutorials. It's like, oh, this is the start menu. Have you pressed the start button ever before in your entire life? And I'm like, yeah, okay, I get it. And then it's like, you've been put to sleep. Did you know that when you sleep, you're asleep? And it's like, yeah, okay. But it never told me about that.
Yeah, there's like a pop-up for every single thing in the game, like aside from that. Unless I missed it, I don't know. I sort of tuned them out after a while. Like,
and it
even when
resets on New Game Plus too, by the way. If you start
even
a
on
new game,
Plus,
it'll give you the tutorials again.
Okay, in case you forgot, you know.
Yeah, it's like you pause the game on New Game Plus. It says this is the pause menu. This is how you pause the game. It's like, all right, thanks. And the one that I hate the most, oh my god, it tells you every single status ailment when it happens. And there's like a lot of them in the game. If it happens to you, it gives you like a 2-page list of how it works. It's like, all right, and the status itself is just poison. Like, okay.
There are some that you need explanations for, but like poison, sleep, paralysis, you don't need that. Stuff like bomb and dread, I get, kind of. Although it is kind of fun to like figure out what it does on your own. I get it's like an accessibility thing, but it's just kind of annoying if it happens too often.
There should have been a way to turn it off. Speaking of which, for those who are going to be playing this game on an SSD, be sure to turn off the loading screen tutorials, because this game, for some reason or another, by default, has it so that when you're loading the game, it will load incredibly quick without those tutorials, right? but if you have them turned on, the game waits like an extra 15 seconds to give you the chance to read them instead of just giving you the option to press the X button. So throughout the entire game, I had no idea like why the game was taking so long to load areas until someone else told me, hey, did you try turning off loading screen hints? And when I did that, the game would load like fucking instantly.
So I made sure to let people know about that in my review because that saved me so much time. Like, it's so confusing how it's hidden in a menu. Like, who would ever think, yeah, turning this off will like improve the load times? Because it's text. Like,
when did you guys turn it off? Because it took me the whole game.
I had it off. I think right after I went into the Soul Matrix for the first time. So very early on, yeah.
It took me a while. It definitely took me a while. I think you told me we were around the same. We were kind of going together at roughly the same pace, and you told me that, and I was like, I literally could have beaten this game like 2 days ago if this was like this.
I turned it off after the final dungeon, and if you had it on during the final dungeon, you know those water pillars that change the like which floor you're on?
Mm-hmm.
Every single one of those comes with a loading screen, and that's like the thing's entire gimmick, and it was dreadful.
Cool dungeon, by the way, though.
Did you want to get into dungeons now? Because I'm pretty sure we all have some thoughts on them.
Oh, big time.
Right. So there's two distinct types of dungeons in this game. There's the real world ones and the Soul Matrix ones. And I think we should start with just the real world ones. What did you guys think of them? Because I think this is the first game since P5 to have dungeons like this.
Don't forget the intricate one dungeon in SMT5, okay?
Oh, right, yes, the one where you have to press the jump button. Yes, I forgot.
Yeah.
The one that got nerfed later on.
The one that was too hard, apparently.
The ones on the map are pretty good. I like them usually. They were quite sparing, and despite the fact that most of them were just office buildings, and subway lines, abandoned subway lines, abandoned office buildings, there was a lot of those. I think 3 of each. Honestly, they were pretty fun. I liked exploring them. I enjoyed that you might just come across some important demon giving you a quest. You might find specific unique items that give you opportunities to hang out and spend time with your party. There was plenty to do, and they each expanded the further along the game you went. It was pretty cool.
What about the dungeon gimmicks? What did you think of those?
They were unique. They didn't overstay their welcome. The keys in the first one, subway line, then there was the scan cards, and then there was the using Fig to kind of roam through the vents. That one was a little bit annoying because Estoma didn't work, and exploring them was kind of a pain, but all in all, they were okay. They didn't overstay their welcome like some other mechanics, but overall, I'd say the dungeon design is fun to explore, if nothing else.
Yeah, I think dungeons are fine. They remind me a lot of the ones in, I want to say SMT4, where they seem very low-key, and they will probably have 1 or 2 gimmicks, but most of the times, it's pretty much just hallways. Like, I think the most gimmicky dungeon I can think of was, like, the last one. That one just has you go up and down floors. And this game loves teleport mazes. This game absolutely loves them. And the dungeons are still pretty simple as a whole. Like, I can't really imagine a lot of people getting really stuck on it if they've played these kind of games before. But because of that, I ultimately find them kind of forgettable in a way, aside from their visual design. And even then, the dungeon aesthetics, almost all of them are repeated.
The overworld dungeons are, I guess maybe my judgment is kind of clouded because they're not the Soul Matrix. And we can get into that one, but maybe my opinion will change the longer I think about it.
So as for me, at least for the overworld dungeons, I found a lot of them kind of worked with this philosophy. Like, the Soul Matrix is like this too later on, but they kind of worked with this philosophy of, like, the challenge coming from it wasting my time, essentially. Like, the last dungeon I thought was miserable just because there's so many, like, all right, here's your options. Go left, go right. You went right, you fucking idiot. You're back at the beginning. It's like, all right, cool. I thought that was really annoying. But yeah, like, aesthetically, they're, like, really fine because they're just real places essentially. Like they're just subways or buildings or whatever. So they don't really hit that spot where they're like dungeons in Nocturne, for example, because like a lot of the places in Nocturne are like really fantastical and weird. But these are all just pretty normal places. So yeah, I found a lot of the time I wasn't very like engaged in the dungeons. I was kind of just going through them, and they weren't really hard enough to be like interesting, but they weren't like easy enough the way it like, you know, Persona 4 kind of handles it to where it's like, oh, this is a cakewalk. It was kind of like, it was kind of annoying, I will say.
Yeah, the last one kind of was grating by the end of it, but ultimately I think what carries it is the fact that even if you do go the wrong way, some of the times, if not most of the time, you'll get one of your demons that was scouting that may or may not give you a unique item that makes your time not completely wasted.
Honestly, that's so weird. That like, thank you for mentioning that because I forgot to write this down. But like, demons being in the dungeons for like finding items is one thing too. But also, there's no negotiation in this game. It's all just like you find your demons like on the overworld. You talk to them, and they just give you the option to recruit a demon, and that feels super fucking weird.
Yeah, what do you guys think about that system? Because I think I had an experience with it, but how was yours like with it?
Like recruiting demons or just talking
Yeah.
to
Did you have any problems related to it?
I think only sometimes they would find guys that were higher level than me. The fact that we don't have any sort of negotiation, it feels like something is missing in like a bad way.
Yeah, big time. It feels hollow in a way. Like your demon will just show up and be like, hey, I found someone. Do you want to talk to them? And you're like, okay. And they're like, I'll hang out with you if you give me 2 medicines. And it's like, you have 99. Do you want to give it to him? And I'm like, okay. And then they just hang out with you forever.
Yeah, and it's not like Persona 5 where that game still had the negotiation system, and I get that some people aren't a fan of how much more straightforward it was, but at least it still kept the core of the franchise. Like talking to demons, getting to know them, and like convincing them to join your side. And the fact that Soul Hackers 2 doesn't have that, it feels it feels wrong. Like it feels kind of like more like a gacha game than anything. Like I got my 5-star fucking Jack Frost.
It is weird because I'm one of the few of the belief that Persona 5 actually may or may not have done demon negotiation the best in the entire series. But this simplifies it to an even more insane degree where it's like, you pretty much will always be able to get the demon. Assuming it's not a higher level than you can get it. So it's only a matter of running around long enough until you find one of your scouting demons that RNG randomly will give you the demon that you want.
Yeah, like at least for me, like gameplay wise, this is honestly probably the thing that drove me the most insane. Like, I don't know if I just had consistently bad luck or what, but I swear throughout my entire playthrough, like I would constantly run into demons that were a higher level. And the way it works is that it's very like RNG feeling to where it's like I need a chance of one of my guys finding a demon, and then I have to like depend on the chance of my level being correct, and I need to hope for the chance that like I don't already have this demon. So it just feels like I'm rolling the dice like 3 times in a row to get a demon, right? Like I don't super mind the lack of or like how easy the negotiations are. I just really wish I could talk to them. Like if I could change one thing about this game, that's what I would change. It's just give me the option to talk to demons, because like not having the choice to say, oh, here's Jack Frost, I want Jack Frost, I think makes the like collecting demon experience like not nearly as fun.
Did you do the side missions, like any of the side quests?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I felt as though most of the game was designed around you doing all that optional stuff to get your level up, but I never ran into that issue that you're describing. Where
yeah, I don't know if I just have too much skill and it was like consistently underleveled. I probably might have been, but like seemingly without fail, I would enter a new area and like all the demons would be too high of a level for me.
That's so weird. I never had that issue.
That kind of happened with me because I had a weird habit of doing all of the side quests, but it was mainly just like really like bing bang boom getting it done, so I didn't really get that whole leveling thing. And I also put off the soul matrix very close to the end, so I went into an area and every single demon was like, oh, what, you want to recruit me?
Hey,
I was
yo?
like, okay, relax, bro.
But Tony, what did you think of the soul matrix? Why would you want to avoid it?
Oh brother, let me tell you, it is really bad. It overstays its welcome so insanely. Forgive me if I rant a little bit, I'm sorry. In my own video, I kind of go off on this as well, but this is such a botched, fool idea that if you get to know your party members enough, you can delve deeper into their soul to understand more about them and unlock certain abilities. Obviously, contextually, maybe meaning that they're more comfortable around you and they're expressing more of themselves, or maybe you're just unlocking deeply repressed memories and emotions from them. But all that ends up being is running around the same copy and pasted area 4 times per character. Every level consistently has the same mechanics. The first and 2 floors are straight shots to the end, pretty much. The 3rd floor has a green teleportation that you can go back and forth from. And the 4th area, big surprise, adds teleportation panels, but it's only a one-way street. So, you know, that's fun. And that's it. That's it forever.
Everyone's favorite SMT dungeon design gimmick.
Yeah, so try not to get lost on any of the level 4s, because you'll be there for like a half an hour sweating.
Did I tell you that I drew out a map for one specific area because I missed one teleporter and I thought I went through it?
Oh yeah, it doesn't tell you which teleporters you've been through. Like there's no check mark or anything, so you just spend forever, pretty much, in a single area.
The Soul Matrix is what like everyone thinks Mementos and Tartarus is. Like, oh my god, is it just like the most visually uninteresting part of the game, and it's like half the game. The Soul Matrix, I am safely gonna say, is about half of the game.
Yeah.
And like you said, contextually, it's awesome. Like, I love the idea that it's just an expanded version of Vision Quest from the first one, where instead of it just being random people, it's your party members. Like, that's great. Like, that's a great way to get to know them in a way outside of the story. But actually going through them is so... It wants you to turn your brain off, right? It wants to be this thing where you kind of like just sort of half pay attention to it, play the game, listen to like a podcast or whatever. And when you're doing that, it's fine, but I am not a fan of hands-off things like that. Like, at that point, I may as well just, like, turn off the TV and just, like, press buttons.
Yeah, see, I don't know what you guys are talking about, because I actually love the Soul Matrix.
Really?
No, I'm messing with you. I thought it was awful. Yeah, no, it's like... Yeah, it's like all the stuff that people always say about Tartarus and Mementos, except worse. Like, because, like, to give Tartarus some credit, it at least changes as you go up. Like, the first couple of floors are green, and then, like, towards the like top sections like rainbow, and then it's white and the music changes, and the floors are at least quick, right? So it's like, all right, floor 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is like basically Tartarus, but really, really big. And like the later you get into it, the less fun it becomes, because it's just full of, like I said, those like make a choice. Did you pick the wrong path? Your time is wasted. Kind of like design philosophy. I thought it was really, really uninteresting.
Yeah. I will say one thing, a word of advice for anyone watching this that wants to play the game, because we're not into spoilers too much yet. When you go into the Soul Matrix, gun it for Milady, because she gives you assassin steps, which increases your movement speed, and if you don't have that, the game is literally unplayable.
Wanna know how long it took me to get that?
Oh, please don't tell me.
The whole fucking game.
No.
Hey, guess what? I didn't know that was a thing. Sweet.
It literally doubles your movement speed, and it's
awesome.
Amazing.
And it works on the overworld too. Like,
yo, so that's
towns.
something I wanted to ask you guys about. Did you find that Ringo's movement was weird?
Weird as in controls or speed?
Yeah, like her speed. Like, she takes a while to build up momentum. And that, like, that's not a big deal for me. At least what's weird is that that also applies to her stopping. Like, I have a lot of footage. I don't know if you guys experience this, where, like, I'll go full clip into a teleporter and she'll walk backwards.
I've never... Yeah, that's never happened to me.
That's weird.
I wonder if it's like a PC thing.
That could be. I don't know. I can't imagine the like physics between 2 versions are different. But yeah, I don't know. I had all kinds of weird stuff happen with Ringo.
I will say one thing. When you do have assassin steps and you're doubling your movement speed, when you're attacking, it doubles the speed of your attack as well. All of your animations are double speed. Moving, building up speed, attacking, whatever. But when you're going that fast, if a demon spawns in, it has a weird habit of spawning underneath you. Or if it spawns in, maybe you're going too fast and you slash and it completely does not hit them. Or at certain points in the game, I'm attacking them, but they're at the sweet spot, like before my sword slash, but after my face. And then they run into me and ambush me.
I don't think I had an issue with whiffing attacks. I don't think I ever had that issue. But with the assassin step, when I started using it, I already had a stoma anyways. so it was just like fucking Ringo fucking taking off like a speeding bullet, unstoppable. But if we are going to talk a little bit more about the Soul Matrix itself, I hate Saizo's third floor so much. It's the one where it's like, it looks like just a bunch of columns, all of which have teleporters on them.
Oh yeah.
And I hate it because if one fucking thing, like the Soul Matrix has quests of its own, like exclusive quests that don't matter for like hangouts. And one of them is always find a certain amount of items, and they're all in predetermined spots. And I was missing one item, and I'm not sure if this was a glitch, like it just didn't spawn, or if I'm just that dumb, but I could not find that last item in that area, and it's so annoying to traverse.
Yeah, on my first playthrough, I mean, we could talk about those quests. I mean, I have kind of a bone to pick with them, but overall, for me, it was Saizo's fourth area. That one kind of looks like the Roblox logo, like going squares going inside of themselves.
Oh, that's the spot where I had to draw the map. Yeah.
I
That
couldn't
place
do it.
is actively miserable.
I was in tears by the end. I was so upset. I was
I was
and then I got to
crying.
the
I
end.
shit myself.
I
Yeah.
was sweating.
I was dirty. I had to go to the shower afterwards, but it was awful. And there was a lot in the Soul Matrix that's hidden, and they do a kind of cool thing where it shows you like, oh, what's that off in the distance? But it's like really far underneath you. You won't be able to see it, but it uncovers on your map like 1 pixel of an area you didn't go to.
Oh my
And there's
God,
a
I
lot
hate
of gates
that.
like that.
Oh, I hate that so much. I guess while we're being haters, let's talk about the side quests. What did you guys think of those?
They were fine.
Yeah, basically. A lot like, feels a lot like the ones in 4 and Apocalypse, mostly just like, ever since you told me this phrase, Tony, I can't stop thinking about it, MMO quests.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
It's like, kill X amount of thing, like, okay. Like, deliver this package, yeah, sure. And while the quests are fine, the rewards you get out of them are actually kind of good. Like, not only do you upgrade, like, what shops are selling, you get, like, gunsmith upgrades, and most importantly, you get hangout spots. And hangout spots not only act as, like, little bits of interactions between characters, but it also raises their soul level, which makes you get more floors on the Soul Matrix, which is not only connected to the good ending, but also gives you a lot of upgrades.
And also how you come to understand most of your characters. As one character in particular, for me at least, I felt was completely underdeveloped to a disgusting degree. So you make sure you want to get all of those hangouts.
Yeah, but like the quests, yeah, they're fine. Like I really like the ones that got you to fight optional bosses. Like those were fun. Like the one where it's like you think you're gonna fight Black Frost, but it's someone else. Like it was challenging, but it was fun.
That one kept me up at night specifically.
But then there's some. Did you guys at all feel as though that the recommended level listed was way too low?
Yeah. There's definitely like it's more of a recommendation, I think, than anything. But it does feel very off.
Yeah, like for reference, I played on hard mode. I'm not sure if that had anything to do with it, but there were some where it's like, oh, fight these 4 McCoy, but they're like the most challenging boss in the game thus far. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, specifically in Soul Matrix, even if you will notice if you accept all the quests for each floor, which are all the exact same, by the way, the bosses, it'll say collect X number of alpha, beta, gamma blockers or whatever, and that one's recommended level like 20. Defeat 10 Cerberuses, that one's recommended level 22. And then it's like defeat the rogue Pegasus demon, and that will be like recommended level 45. And you're like, whoa, what?
Bro, those like Soul Matrix mini bosses don't play around.
Oh, they don't. Like, they not only are they just strong as hell, they have turn limits.
Yeah, they're puzzle fights. A lot of them are.
So I guess that just begs the question: did you guys finish the Soul Matrix before finishing the game?
Not on my first playthrough, no.
No, I ran out of soul points. I wasn't able to unlock the final final gates.
That's fucking tragic. I only had just enough. I would have gone insane if I didn't have enough, because I was missing 2 on Arrow, and I was doing the last hangouts, and I was just praying the whole time that he would get points, and he got just enough at the end. I felt accomplished that day. Did you guys ever think that like the MP was like way too stingy?
Not really. Like that's absolutely something I had in 5, where it's like, oh my god, I never have enough MP. But I didn't really find that was too much of an issue here.
Yeah, this one's a bit easier on the mana. It's not maybe with Melody because I was using Assassin Steps literally every 2 seconds, but for everyone else, that was pretty alright.
Really? Because I felt as though there were points where I was kind of like scrounging the last bit that I could. Did you guys use the augments at all to like decrease MP cost, or did you guys ignore that? Because I was using that all the time. I felt like I had to.
I never really used it, only increasing damage.
Really?
Yeah. Well, did you leave the dungeon and come back?
Yeah, I would do that. Like, I felt as though I had to, but there were points where it's like, I could only do so much, and then I had to leave and come back. But like, for most of the game, I was sort of like not wanting to do that because I didn't know about the loading screen like tip. So I was just like
The loading screen cucked you out of just free heals. Yeah.
like I didn't want to like run into the loading screen again because it would last like it would take like a minute to get back to the dungeon after. It's like, no thanks. I think I'll just stick it out.
Oh, on that note, Atlas, if you're listening, maybe it's just me, but please add a quality of life feature where if you go to the overworld, just heal me to full, please. I don't want to have to go back to the hideout, press the rest button. I never ate anything, pretty much, or when I did, I never really noticed any change. So please just heal me when I go to the overworld. Please and thank you.
The only food I would eat was when I was grinding levels, because there's food to increase the amount of experience you get from enemies a higher level than you. And I would do that when fighting risky enemies, and it gave a pretty decent payout.
Those risky enemies are, I have a love-and-hate relationship with them. Once you reach a certain threshold, you like unlock a different risky enemies. And if you're right on the cusp of unlocking a new one, they're prohibitively difficult. At least to me. I could not take on specific ones. I had to grind to even be able to fight them. And then I would level up 2-3 times, and then I would get another risky enemy that would completely destroy me.
Did you do the one with Fenrir that would heal itself every attack?
I never fought. I just gave up.
That one. I
would fight the other two, and then I'd run away.
It might actually be quicker to do that because that one Fenrir is so disgustingly strong.
Yeah, there's also one with the Doppelganger and Kuholin. That one was pretty good. That was the one that got me to the end of the game.
Yeah, I thought that one was pretty easy, all things considered. But it's still pretty weird to see that this is like one of the only SMT games I can really think of that ends your level at like the 60s. Like most other games, when you finish the main story, you're at like level 80 or something. This one you're at like 60 something.
Yeah, I finished the game. I was like, I feel as if there's a lot of demons I could still theoretically be getting. Like, you know, I was like level 62, I think, when I finished.
Yeah, and it caps out at like 95 without the DLC. Like that's like the last demon you can make is level 95. It's like, when am I ever gonna need this?
One of my pet peeves in RPGs is when you end the game at a low level. And it's especially bad with SMT because, not to say there aren't cool demons of a lower level, there's obviously great demons. Some of my favorite ones are lower level, but the really, really cool ones, like the Archangels and the Archdemons, Satan, Lucifer, Lilith, all of those really, really cool ones are high level. So please, let me get to it. I want to use these demons. I literally beat the game twice, and I was level, I think, 67. I was 62 at the end of my first one, I think, like Fidler was.
I finished at around 70 because the final boss fucking wiped me on hard mode. Like, that final boss is actually pretty difficult.
Yeah, it was. It was really hard.
And there are some cool demons you can get throughout the story anyways. Like, Yoshitsune is like level 40 like he was in the first Soul Hackers. And thankfully isn't the most overpowered demon in the game. There's Sandalphon, Black Frost. Black Frost especially is pretty good. But it did feel as though like a lot of like the super cool ones are still entirely out of reach for me. Even like at like New Game Plus. I have no idea how to gain the proper levels for it at this point.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's impossible. I think it's literally risky demons until 99 is the strat. And I really wanted to get the
real solution is buy the DLC that gives you a guaranteed drop every fight of an item that levels you up by 1.
Oh my god.
True.
Yeah,
How could I have been a fool?
You, unlike everyone else here, actually got to try the DLC.
Yeah, I have magic powers, so I have the DLC. Yeah, this shit is like egregiously really, really not okay. Because like, if you turn it off, you get every fight, like every random encounter, you get an item that levels up one of your summoners, an item that levels up a demon, and a thing you can sell for 250,000 yen.
That item, I think the highest selling item in the game normally is like 150,000, or like even just 100,000.
Yeah, jeez. I was always out of money in this game.
I started running out of money because near endgame I started focusing on like hard on upgrades and fusion. I thought I was pretty comfortable for most of the journey, but it was only like endgame where it's like, all right, let's try to get my stats up. Let's try to get myself some good demons. And this is like one of the only SMT games where I spend a lot of time doing Matama fusing. I don't really do that, but this one I felt sort of compelled to try to give myself optimal skill sets for my characters.
Yeah, I have kind of a problem with the fusion system in this game specifically because I had this conversation with Nam. I don't know how you were with it, Fither, but when I was building my characters, I had a really hard time finding the right demon for the character when I was upgrading, especially Arrow, because I had him as a buff and debuff and ice damage. And for some reason, between where I started, I guess, and when you get Black Frost, there's literally like no demons that do ice damage and also buff and debuff at all, at least for me. I know it's anecdotal, but I had such a hard time upgrading, specifically Arrow and Saizo. It was such a pain.
Yeah, like I definitely ran into a lot of problems because, like I said, I kind of built these guys with specific ideas in mind. Like, you're my ice mage, but yeah, there were definitely moments where I was like, uh-oh, like, there's not really a good substitute for this demon anymore, so I'd have to give them, like, kind of subpar demons. I'd give them, like, a demon that's like, alright, you're a physical demon, whatever, I guess we'll roll with it, but yeah, there were definitely a lot of times where I was like, I just don't have the right demon at this moment.
Yeah, I know there were points for me where I kind of held off on giving people other demons because I didn't want to break them out of their rules, but Matama Fusion did kind of fix that. Because if it was like, okay, like I can fuse these guys together to make this like magic demon. Oh, they can still inherit ice. Okay, let me just Matama fuse a Bufudine on this. Like, just so we can have something. But I know I didn't rely on it entirely. I did break Arrow out of his ice affinity for a bit, specifically. Like, I gave him wind at one point because just fuck it. And the reason why you do want to stick into those roles is because there are upgrades that give you extra Sabbath attacks if you use the proper weakness with that character, which in a way does encourage you to build them in a certain way, but isn't the best motivator in my eyes.
Yeah, this game has a hard time of towing the line between feeling like it's railroading you into certain archetypes and giving you the freedom to do whatever you want. Because with the Mystique system and with the skill affinity boosting comp upgrades, they make it seem kind of like any character can do anything. But let's face facts here. Everyone is going to use the elements for their specific characters, and anything else, Ringo is going to do. She's going to do almighty damage. She might buff and debuff. She might heal. I know my Ringo had Mediarhan and Bloodlust. She was the go-to for everyone else. Period. She was the best. And everyone else is like, oh yeah, they do their element.
Yeah, for me, Ringo was just... She was like pretty much as every kind of like damage you can think of. She had Almighty, she had Electricity because that's like her thing. And she also had Physical because she can do a lot of physical damage. Like one of her comp upgrades naturally just gives her Pierce. So you don't even have to have it on like a skill.
They try to incentivize you using Melody with Physical as well. But that never really shapes up because she doesn't have Pierce.
Her fire damage is great though. Like, I think she did the highest magic damage for me.
Oh yeah, her Agidine would one-shot almost anything that was weak to fire.
Okay, so I know we kind of went off on some tangents there, sounded a little... It might sound like that we kind of don't like this game, but I think that it's just more so a case that its core design elements are fine, but it's just that a lot of the specifics, for me anyways, aren't, like, great. I still had fun playing it. It just feels like a very flawed experience, like, gameplay-wise.
Yeah, like, I think for me at least, if I had never played another game in the series, I probably would have enjoyed this more, because it's just hard to, like, not draw that comparison and just think, like, yeah, this is, like, cool, but, like, I could be playing SMT4 Apocalypse, Persona 5 Royal, or SMT5, so... Yeah, I think in the, like, the combat's fine. It's not, like, a bad system. I would say it's a good system, actually. But it's just, like, you know, compared to its siblings, it's just not as good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, when judged on its own, it's totally fine. But, yeah, like Fither said, as an SMT game, we can't help but be very rough on it.
Yeah. So what do you think about Soul Hackers 2 compared to other Devil Summoner games, like gameplay-wise? Like, does it fit with the series, or is it too different from the other ones?
If you told me this wasn't an SMT game, I would have believed you. Without the Yatagarasu and the Phantom Society, if this was any other game series, I would have thought, this is a pretty cool game. It doesn't really have much at all, really, to do with the series of SMT. That isn't to say that it's a bad game, but it's so odd that they went in such a clear, different direction with the game.
Yeah, like I think this game definitely could have and probably should have been called something other than Soul Hackers 2, because like the way I kind of feel about it is that this is definitely a spiritual successor to Soul Hackers, and it is not at all a Soul Hackers sequel. Like you can totally play this game without any knowledge of the original and be fine. So I think it even being like Soul Hackers 2 is just kind of weird.
Yeah, big time. Especially, like I said, I want this game to do well because I like Devil Summoner, and when I say I like Devil Summoner, I mean to say I like Raidou. I want more Raidou games, but this is like I don't know, it's okay. It's not what I expected, it's not really what I wanted.
Yeah,
like
to talk about that, when it comes to what I expected, honestly, I'm not even sure what I was expecting it to be like, you know? It was kind of just like this nebulous thing, I wasn't really sure, because obviously it wasn't going to really be like the original Soul Hackers, because that game came out in 1997, so... yeah, I don't know.
I think part of me feels that my biggest issue with Soul Hackers 2 gameplay-wise is that it lacks ambition. And because of that, I think it has a bit of an identity crisis.
It's a very safe video game.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you can give SMT5 shit for a lot of its choices. I think, like, all of us definitely have. But you gotta admit, they at least tried something pretty different with, like, the overworld and kind of just the approach to, like, you know, how you traverse areas and stuff. But with this, I don't really feel like there's anything new other than, like, the Sabbaths. But even then, I feel like I can't, like, not compare them to Demon Co-ops from Strange Journey.
Yeah. I was mostly looking forward to this game because, well, when I said looking forward to, I was excited when I first started playing because it started giving off very cool vibes. The light cyberpunk aesthetic was pushed to 11 for this game. There's, like, everything minus flying cars. And they really push the stagnation of society, stagnation of culture, technology, everything. And I thought they would really go hard into societal collapse, what it means to, you know, transhumanism, whatever cyberpunk, Deus Ex type conversations you might have. But yeah, like you said, it's a very safe video game. And I don't want to get too much into the narrative side of it, but it starts very strong, much like the first game. It starts very strong, and then kind of devolves into a wishy-washy, safe mess.
This one isn't written on the paper, but I guess we can quickly talk about it since you mentioned SMT5 there. What do you think about it compared to that game? Because honestly, despite what SMT5 like gets wrong, like in terms of like narrative and whatever, in terms of gameplay, I find it to be a lot more interesting to look at and discuss.
Which one? SMT5 or Soul Hackers 2?
SMT5.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. Like, I think probably the biggest indicator for me of like my enjoyment is that I finished SMT5 and immediately started a new playthrough. With this, I was like, I'm good.
Yeah.
But I definitely, despite its problems, it definitely has them. I had a much more like fun playing experience with 5 overall.
Yeah, like a lot of SMT5's core gameplay ideas, like they were, it felt a lot more deliberate. Like everything was put in to feed another system. It's like, okay, so we have these big ass worlds. What do we do with them? Okay, let's put in items to help forward your character. Okay, how? Let's put in items that give you either new skills or new affinities. All right, so we can populate the map with those, but we can also put in another collectible that upgrades your character in a different way, such as like the glory system and all that. There were things in place to get you to interact with all the other systems. When in Soul Hackers 2, it just sort of feels like, here, have this dungeon, and here, have some quests. Like, some quests give you new character perks. Okay, that's cool. But, like, what about the dungeons themselves? It's like, well, just, like, they're standard 3DS era SMT dungeons. Like, nothing as unique or as interesting as what could be found in the PS2 games, but nothing, like, offensive.
Yeah, honestly, as much flack as I gave SMT5 when it came out, and still do, and probably still will, I did think it was overall more of a fun experience than Soul Hackers 2, especially since it had more even narratively to chew on with the whole God is dead thing, the Bethel leaders, It was fun to talk about. It was fun to wrap your head around. Had a clear alignment system. It was more of an SMT game, that's for sure.
Yeah, like I'm not gonna get too deep into like story stuff, but I think that like for me at least, I don't know if I'd say I liked SMT5's story more, but I found what was kind of provided to us was more interesting. Like I walked away thinking concepts like Nahobino were pretty interesting. So whereas with Soul Hackers 2, I found it was a lot of just like stuff that kind of feels very been there, done that. So it's like, I guess it depends on what you like more. It's just like really, really condensed, like not a whole lot of story, but what is there is fairly interesting, or a whole lot of like, okay.
So both you guys aren't a huge fan of the story?
Not so much.
Not particularly.
That's interesting. Because I actually think Soul Hackers 2 has a better story than 5.
Okay.
Yeah. So I guess we can do that. We're going to be talking spoilers, right? So just for everyone listening, if you haven't played the game yet, we're going to be spoiling a lot of stuff in this game because I know Tony specifically has a lot to say. Anyways, so if you haven't played the game yet and want to go in with no spoilers, then I suggest you stop watching the video now and come back once you've played the game yourself. Anyways, with that said, let's talk about the story. I think the first thing we should start off with is Ringo. What did you guys think of her?
I liked Ringo. So, I don't know if you guys played in English or Japanese.
I played in English.
English, yeah.
Yeah, so I actually swapped over to Japanese because I wanted to hear what Ringo sounded like, and I actually kind of fell in love with her voice. She's kind of like Aigis in Persona 3, but she's more kind of like playful. She has this really unique kind of like sort of robotic candor to her where she really emphasizes certain words. It's just a lot of fun. So, yeah, I like Ringo as a character, but I wouldn't say she's like one of my favorite protagonists from the series. Her design is really cool, though.
Yeah, I would say I like her as a character, but if you think about her narratively, it doesn't really make much sense. The more I thought about it, the bigger a problem I had with her as a whole. Like I said, I like her character, I like her personality. It's definitely different in Japanese because they emphasize that speech pattern being robotic there, but in English, she sounds completely normal. She understands the nuance of even like highly advanced speaking, like sarcasm and understanding like deep philosophical quandaries.
Yeah, like within the first not even hour, she's like spitting back raps at people. It's like that's like
Yeah. She's freestyling, and I'm like,
Yo.
is this a newborn or is this like
or is this Eminem, dude?
is this straight up Eminem? Is this Megan Thee Stallion in my video game?
I actually ended up really liking Ringo. Like, I really like her personality. Her voice actress did a really good job in English, too. I think her voice actress is great. And I also think it's kind of cool that we not only got a female protagonist, but I believe this is the first Mega 10 game to have a protagonist who speaks.
Is it? That feels wrong, but it also is probably correct.
Like,
Yeah.
I can't think of any other voiced protagonists like this. Like, you can,
Yeah.
I guess you could say Joker, who has, like, voice
Yeah.
lines, but I'm talking about one who, like,
yeah, like people who
actively-
like speak. Yeah.
Yeah, like a Final
than
Fantasy
Persona
type
2,
of
kinda.
protagonist. Oh, what'd you say, Tony?
Other than Persona 2, kinda. I can't think of one, no.
Yeah, like I don't really count stuff like characters just having battle quotes or just like picking dialogue options. I mean, like, Ringo is a fully fleshed out character that you're just playing as. And I also do not count Aigis from the answer because that's just like an epilogue.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, you're kind of freaking me out here. I didn't really think about that, but like, yeah, she's maybe the first like protagonist who's just like kind of her own character and not really like a self-insert. Like, obviously these characters have kind of like predefined quirks to them, but you know, Ringo I think is definitely the most like you could just swap her out. Like, it wouldn't feel that weird if instead you were just playing as like Arrow or something and Ringo was just a character, you know? Whereas
Yeah.
if you swap out, like, if you play as Yosuke and you swap him for Narukami, suddenly the game feels wrong. Right?
Yeah, it's very Final Fantasy in a way, where it's like you have someone like a Cloud Strife. Like, Ringo's a lot similar to someone like him than fucking like Strange Journey guy with gun. And I find that to be very refreshing. I ended up really enjoying Ringo as a character, but like you said, Tony, like in terms of her role in the story about how she's supposed to be like a newborn like AI, like it really doesn't feel like it.
Yeah, which is weird because they handled it honestly pretty well in Persona 3.
And in Strikers.
Yeah, and in Strikers. They've done AIs before, obviously not the same team. but the series, you don't start an AI literally that was made like, I want to say by the beginning to when you first take control of her, I'd say she's about 2 hours old, and she's like straight up just a human. Like you couldn't tell.
You're absolutely right. So what did you guys think of the other party members, like Saizo, Arrow, and Milady?
Yo, Saizo's kind of my dude. The other two are okay.
Whoa. Okay, I'm the opposite.
Oh shit. Uh-oh. We're enemies now. Oh no.
All right, we can go head to head. I literally don't. I mean, okay, so I should preface this. I like the 3 or the 4's dynamic. There's Ringo, who's the newborn AI, or at least should have been. There's Saizo, who's the freelancer, almost like the neutral. There's Milady, who's the Phantom Society, like the Chaos alignment, if there was one. And Arrow, who's part of Yatagarasu, which is more like Law. Their personalities mesh. They butt heads, but they mesh quite well, and I like the chemistry they all have, especially when they're all going to just grab a drink at the bar. But I will say, I know you guys might not agree with me, but I really don't like how some characters got the short end of the stick. Specifically, my favorite character, Milady, which is weird because she's Chaos, and I'm staunchly a Law-aligned person. I loved Milady, and she got snuffed.
What do you mean by snuffed?
I didn't really know much about her. To go fully into spoilers, all we know about her is that she was presumably like a young child, 10 years old, before she was in another country, and Iron Mask destroyed the village, or maybe he didn't, and rescued her, brought her into the Phantom Society, raised her, then started dating her, which is a whole, you know, Me Too type of thing you can get into. But that's about it. That's her backstory. She used to date Iron Mask, and then Iron Mask died, and now she wants to kill the guy who killed him. And that's her character.
I'd say that's more so her backstory than her character, because the hangouts actually do like go a long way in fleshing out her interactions with the other party members. Something that I really did like about Soul Hackers 2's cast was that we had 2 completely opposite ends of Devil Summoners being like forced to work together. And even early on, this is highlighted with Arrow and Milady like arguing about the ethics of like how they should go about doing things. Like what
That's true.
Like a standout line to me was Milady says something about the like Arrow says something about the Phantom Society, and then Milady said something along the lines of how like why should the Yatagarasu decide the law or something like that. It's like, who's to say that they're the ones who should decide what justice is?
That's true. Her personality comes across well. What I more so mean is that Saizo has a large amount of screen time dedicated to his ex-girlfriend Ash. Arrow has a large amount of screen time dedicated to him through his interactions with Mangetsu. But Milady doesn't really get too much dedicated to her. She doesn't even really get most of the time with Iron Mask dedicated to her. It's actually more of a group thing.
I'd say, well, it is more of a group thing. I think there is enough emphasis put on the fact that it is like a personal thing to her to make up for that. Like, it is, they all have this common enemy, but it goes beyond the surface level with her.
Yeah, and full spoilers now. Even the bombshell twist, oh, that isn't the real Iron Mask, it's the Iron Mask, it's the person that killed him and then took up the mantle, is not really important at all to the story. Like, it's kind of a twist, but they're just like, oh, that's crazy.
It's not important to Milady, like, at all.
Yeah,
I think Saizo said that. He went, yo, that's crazy.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he said, well, that's kind of wild. Like, it feels like it had more of an impact on Fig than anything.
Yeah,
like,
it did.
All that mattered to like Milady was like, okay, fucking target acquired, pop pop. And then she does like try to like go to the orphanage and like blow it up or whatever, which I thought was gonna be like a much bigger event than what it ended up being. Like, all that really happens is that Saizo like goes there first, like with her to stop her, and then like they just sort of all like calm down, and then they just head to the shipping district or whatever.
A more bright-eyed Tony might have thought that was the alignment turning point in the game, but at that point I was so jaded and I was just like, okay, well, all these dialogue choices really mean is how much soul level I get. It's nothing's going to change in the plot. And there's probably
I
no
was
alignment.
never under the assumption there would be any alignments whatsoever in this.
Honestly, like the soul points, like even since like it's starting, I only picked the ones that would even out the soul levels. I'd never picked,
I did
like,
the same thing. It kind of forces you to anyways, because like when you reach a certain threshold where you have too much in the one character, it'll just stop giving you options that'll like improve that. So it's like, no matter what, it seems like you're going to get an even spread of points.
I had no idea it would do that.
Yeah, I know this because I dumped a lot of points into Saizo.
My boy.
Yeah. I guess I'll also explain. Sorry, Fither. I don't like Saizo very much.
That's okay. I don't either.
Okay.
No, I'm lying. He's like my favorite character, but that's kind of like a participation trophy kind of thing for me. It's like you're my
Yeah.
favorite out of these characters. I'm not like all that in love with.
I thought he chewed the scenery a bit too much, and his weird, like, interactions with his ex-girlfriend took up so much time. I thought it very much overstayed its welcome. I guess that can be said about a majority of the things in this game. Soul Hackers 2 overstays its welcome.
That's
Almost
the video
everything
essay. Yeah.
does.
That's the 4-hour video essay.
It's just like Saizo. I get it. You and Ash used to be together, then she accidentally killed you. Boohoo, it happens. To
It
all of us.
happens.
Yeah, whatever, man. You're back. Who cares? Just forget about her and let's go get some drinks at the bar. But he really does not. Up until almost the end of the game, he's like, "Oh, I love Ash so much. She's my best girlfriend I've ever had. I want to leave. I want to stop soul hacking." And I'm like, "Okay, then go do it. But wait until we're done, okay? Like, I'm sick of hearing about Ash. I hated her voice actress in English. When she goes, "Oh, stop, Saizo, please. I killed you. You suck. But also I suck. But also you suck." I go, "This is a Shin Megami Tensei game. The world is ending. I don't care about your girlfriend at all."
Slam.
Slam. Sorry.
Yo, Ash is kind of hot though, for real. I think that makes up
Bro,
for it.
yeah, like, dude, like, come on, look at her. Like, of course he's gonna do that.
Okay, that's true. Love him or hate him, he's spitting facts.
Yeah, but I don't know. Like, I found that Saizo, Melody, and Arrow had like an equal amount of importance. In fact, I was worried that Arrow wouldn't get much importance after his introduction, because his, like, I guess motivator, his tie to the plot, is resolved very quickly. And I'm very thankful that they ended up making him a Covenant holder, because then it thrusts him back into like a more active role in the story. Because beforehand, we only had like his childhood friend that was like, "Hey, let's be heroes. Okay, by the way, I'm actually gonna grow up and become a terrorist. Sorry." Like, and then when that gets dealt with in like the second dungeon, I was like kind of worried, like, okay, well, what's Arrow gonna do now? But I'm very glad that they had the forethought to plant an extra thing with his character into the story. That was arguably far more interesting than what he had before.
There's always something weird that goes on in games that have a pretty, let's face it, a pretty clear good guys and bad guys. The Yatagarasu are good. The Phantom Society are bad. No matter what Melody says, she does actually have a lot of nuance to say about the nature of who's to say what's right, who's to say what's wrong. But at the end of the day, the Phantom Society literally wants to summon Cthulhu to eat the world and make a new one. But it's never really explained, okay, do the followers get to cross over to the next life? Is it just destroying the world? Is there what led them to thinking that this world needed to be destroyed? That also ties back to maybe they could have explored the whole societal collapse and downfall aspect of the game, which they didn't. They never really explain, same as the first Soul Hackers as well, by the way. They never explain what the aims of the Phantom Society are other than destroy the world, I guess.
Yeah, like, at least for me, like, a big kind of motivator in how much I like stories is, like, what the villains are up to. And I found that the overall, like, kind of good guy versus bad guy, like, dynamic is really, really uninteresting. Like, the Phantom Society kind of just feels like every, like, anime or RPG bad guy group, like, ever.
And they might as well be Team Rocket. It's
Yeah.
like they're just evil.
It does feel like an awkward carryover from the first one in that way. Because, like, even then, like, I agree with you. Even in the first game, it's still kind of like, what the fuck are these guys doing? Like,
Yeah.
what do they want? What? But this game poses the question of whether or not, like, oh, is the Yatagarasu, like, actually, like, kind of fucked up too? Like, okay, like, are we gonna explore that idea? Not really. And they kind of do, because Raven, spoiler alerts, is the fucking, he's the evilest man to ever exist. But it's a question that kind of falls flat if this is really trying to be a sequel to Soul Hackers. Because that game was also a sequel to the first Devil Summoner, where the Yatagarasu were the clear good guys. Like, it feels like it was written under the pretense of it being a reboot, but because it's not a reboot, and all that established world building still exists, like, are the Yatagarasu, like, just as bad as Phantom Society? Fucking no. Like, the Phantom Society literally tried to blow up a group of kids like in a tunnel because they looked into the internet too much.
It's so crazy to think about. There's so many things in this game that they say but never explore, which is like, if you're going to give philosophical debates and have the characters hash them out, portray them evenly. They try to make it seem like with Arrow and his like surrogate brother, I guess, that all it took was one bad day, like the Joker meme. But it's really not. It doesn't make any sense why he went to Phantom Society and Arrow went to Yatagarasu. It's never explained. What happened between them to do that? What happened between anyone that led them towards Phantom, other than Milady, who was pretty much like groomed into being a Phantom Society member, which has its own philosophical connotations towards it of whether or not she had any say in the matter. But it's silly. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, like at least for me, I found I kind of had this experience with the game where there was a lot of information that was shown to me that kind of like I just didn't care to digest really. Like you brought up a couple of plot holes in the game. I found a lot of the time I was just like, okay, doesn't make that much sense, but let's continue on, you know.
Yeah, another thing I want to bring up is they have the two cool things. The first cool thing is the societal collapse thing, which I talked about. But another cool thing is the covenants, which are interesting, but they're never really explained to a satisfactory detail of why they're important, other than they make you strong. Like, we know they enhance natural abilities, but only really one of them does. Like, we know that the green one was Saizo's, and all that did was make him a better pianist. And the yellow one was Milady's, and she said that literally didn't do anything. Like, what do these do? Presumably, the blue one, which was the scientist, made you smarter, which actually does have a tangible effect on the user. And I guess also maybe one of them makes you stronger, but there's 5, and 2 of them are useful. So why did you need all 5?
Like, I was pretty excited for the idea of like covenants as a thing, because I think that's kind of just like a fun, like dynamic idea for stories that, yeah, there's like these 5 things. Like, honestly, I kind of feel like 5 might be too few. I think like 7 might have been better, to where it's like, yeah, there's these 7 things, and like right now this guy has 2 of them and this guy has 2, and this guy just lost one. Like, there would be a really dynamic kind of like back and forth between like who has the covenants and stuff. But I find that like the first couple of hours, it feels like, oh shit, okay, Iron Mask has like 4 of them. Cool.
Yeah, like, and the loading screen sets it up as if that's exactly what it's gonna do. Like, when the game's loading at the start of the game, it shows like who has what covenants, and it's like, okay, like, are they losing them? Are they gaining them? Like, what's happening? But then like after the first couple dungeons, it's like, okay, he has literally all of them but one.
Yeah, I think that's when I started to lose a lot of steam for the story, because it's like, at that point I was kind of like, okay, so the covenants thing is like, it's obviously still going to be a thing, but a lot of the dynamic, interesting, like Chaos Emeralds kind of thing going on is already starting to end. So like, what is the rest of this going to be like?
They drop it really quick too, because super spoilers. Okay, I should also say, in the beginning, there's also a few plot holes with it. So they establish that you can transfer covenants through killing someone, obviously, but you can also transfer it through an intensely rigorous meditative process of, I guess, my understanding of it was that if you just think you're gonna die, you can just have it exit your body. Mangetsu channels all of his life energy or something to his arm and then cuts it off, and then the covenant leaves and goes into Arrow, which is like, okay, I guess that is an explanation. But there's also a part where Fig makes a duplicate of herself, and that duplicate has the covenant, but also in that covenant it has a computer virus, but that isn't a computer virus. It's a real virus made on the computer that goes into Azoma and poisons it, so you kill it. Which is like, how did she do that? What are you talking about? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
okay, I guess.
The covenants are definitely not like solidified things to where, like, you know, to bring up a SMT5 concept like knowledge, for example. Like, I think we all have a pretty solid understanding of what knowledge was, right? Even if there's some like lore, like vagueness about it, we knew what it was and like why having it was a good thing. I don't know what the hell's going on with covenants.
Nothing's going on. Or everything. Whatever they want.
Wait, I'm thinking about that scene again. How did she do that?
It's not explained. I had that in the back of my mind for the entire rest of the game. How did she do this? Why did she do this? This doesn't make any sense.
Like
That's
she makes
another great example of a moment where I saw it and I was like, that doesn't make sense. But my brain wasn't hooked up right. And so I was like, I just moved on. I didn't question it too much. But now that I'm thinking about it, yeah, what the hell? What happened there?
Yeah, it was like someone pointed out to me. It's like when you think about it, Iron Mask is like this much older than Milady. It's like, wait, really? Like when you start to think about it and the implications that it has, it's like, wait, what the fuck?
She's 10? Sam.
Like she was 10 at the
Yeah.
time? Wait, what's going on? But anyways, like the whole fake covenant thing, I think that only comes up for like that one part.
But it wasn't a fake covenant. It was a real covenant.
Was that the real covenant?
Yeah. Well, oh,
Wait,
actually, wait.
Which
Was it?
one?
Because wasn't it the purple one?
It was the purple one that had a virus that also disappeared.
Yeah, because doesn't Arrow have it?
Oh, you're right. Yeah, wait.
Because when they beat Raven, she gets all of them.
Yeah.
Like, was it a fake one?
But then Arrow unlocked it and then gave it to her. And then no, because Arrow gave it to her before they confronted Iron Mask.
Yeah, it
And
was for
then-
like safekeeping, right?
Yeah, and then she came and then plugged her port into the computer box and then typed up virus.exe, put it into her, and I don't know, man.
But I
And
thought
stole his
they only.
bitcoins, yeah.
Yeah, she started mining bitcoins. It was weird.
But I thought that they only found out Raven was Iron Mask because Arrow had the Covenant when they visited the orphanage.
I think that was after.
Yeah, but if that was that was after the whole poisoning the Zoma thing, was that wasn't his actual Covenant then?
No, I think that was a duplicate one that she made in her alternate body, which she made out of, I guess, organic material found.
Bro, I'm gonna have to watch all the
maybe.
fucking cutscenes again.
She made a second duplicate version of herself out of leftover pizza, and then she
Out
gave
of
it to
the
Iron
jar of
Mask.
mayonnaise that's there whenever you eat food at the hideout.
Yeah, it's a good game. This is a good game.
it's,
That's very weird.
it's one of the stories of the decade.
Yeah, the more I think about this story, the more I am in shock that it even exists.
The more I feel like I missed something. I'm gonna
Yeah.
have to go back and watch the cutscenes again before I make that video then. But what I did like though was how Zomas were used in the story. I did like that. It's like a deep cut gameplay mechanic that like no one used in the original, just making it a plot important like thing.
Yeah, it was cool. Despite how little they used him narratively, he was like a cool.
Well, it's just like a bodyguard,
Bodyguard.
like Mook type
Yeah.
of enemy. So it's like, I thought that was cool how he just had this ultra powerful fucking Zoma fusion. It's like, wow, that's like, is that what they could do in the original? I don't know, I never fucking did that.
You know what would have been cool is if he transforms when he gets covenants. I think that would have been a much more interesting.
Oh my god,
if
it'd
he's
be like Chaos
if he's like
from Sonic
yeah,
Adventure.
he's like Chaos from Sonic. He just like he feeds a covenant. He like grows wings and like crazy shit starts happening. That would have been awesome.
That would have been sick.
That actually would have been really cool, yeah. But he does power up like Goku from Fortnite.
Well, he ain't being Goku.
He definitely ain't being Goku, though. I'll
You know,
tell
when
that
you
much.
really think about it, this game does have the same plot as Sonic Adventure. It's like the guy's trying to get all the MacGuffins for his, like, god of destruction.
Oh my god, you're actually right.
It's the same game.
Same game.
Finding out integral memories in the past. Guess what also happens in Sonic Adventure, bro?
Ayo,
Dude.
you know, plagiarism. Like
So, I know you have strong feelings on this, so I'm gonna ask you. Like, what did you think of Raven?
Me?
Yeah, you.
Me? Tony for you?
Tony. for
I
you.
thought he was very, very underdeveloped. I think that he could have been so much more than he was. If you think about it, the hero turned villain is a very cool idea. It's inherently compelling because you always want to know, okay, why did he do that? But the reason why he did it is because he had to shoot. Okay, spoilers. I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, the reason why he complete 180 to the Phantom Society is because one of his missions sent him to a place where he had to shoot a kid in the face.
I'm pretty sure he had to do that, yeah.
Yeah, and then immediately was like, I don't want to do this anymore. Understandably. But then he goes even further beyond and says, not only do I not want to do this again, I'm also gonna bring about the apocalypse and kill everybody.
Well, there was a reason why they wanted to do that. It was like, they wanted to make like a new world or something, you know, fucking typical SMT shit.
Yeah, it's SMT stuff, but if he was the protagonist, I would be like, this is cool. But he's the antagonist. And I'm like, well, now you want to end the world and make a new one, which is cool. And I actually like that to an extent. But I gotta stop you. And also, you're ruining Fig. Fig fell in love with you in 2 seconds for some reason
Okay.
and became evil.
Yeah. Okay, I was waiting for it. I think that is the worst part of the story.
Yeah,
Like,
big twist, goes nowhere.
I think I saw it coming from a mile away. This is like just I don't know if you guys experienced this. This is just like a weird RPG sense kind of thing I had where party members who aren't like combat participants are very, very susceptible to like bad plot stuff happening, right? I feel like this is something that like RPGs have kind of been wary of ever since Final Fantasy VII, is like getting rid of playable party members like that. So the whole time I was kind of just like, yeah, Fig, you're you could die at any moment. So
yeah, and like the ones that do end up doing it, they'll do like the Persona 3 where like they take a character that's only been in the party for a month and then remove them.
yeah.
But even if you can sort of like guess like, okay, yeah, something's going on with Fig, something's gonna happen in the story with her, it's still like a matter of waiting for the proper motivation to come up, because I don't care if I can predict something in the story as long as like it makes sense. Where it's like, okay, like fucking Goro Akechi is the Black Mask Killer. Okay, why is he the Black Mask Killer? Because he wants to get revenge on his dad, but he also wants to be a police officer, but he also wants this and that. It's like, oh, okay, so calm down, game. But for Fig, it's like, okay, I want to destroy the world, okay, because this person that I supposedly have an attachment to died. Okay, that makes sense. But when it goes about justifying their relationship, there isn't really any. I think they had like one cutscene together.
It even goes so far as to make it seem like he didn't even really like her that much, because when you kill him, she tries to soul hack him and bring him back, and he says no. He says, I'm done. You guys won. I'm done with this. I don't want to do this anymore. And she still wants to destroy the world. For his memory?
Yeah, it feels like a very flimsy justification.
But then at the end, he comes back and says, Fig, what are you doing? And she's like, oh, my bad. And she just comes back.
Might be.
And I'm like, that was the end?
I've only gotten one ending, so I'm not sure what the other one is like, but the ending I got was Fig did not die. She did not die in my playthrough.
I got the bad ending where Fig does not come back.
I got that one my first run too.
And I'm still trying to understand like the differences between them. Like when you try doing it like in the regular one, like the one I got, the epic ending as I'll call it. When you try getting that ending, like Ringo tries to soul hack Fig, and then they have a conversation about like her trying to convince Fig to come back. But she at first doesn't. She's like completely against it. But then it's the memory of Raven that convinces her otherwise, but it relies on a relationship that we have no idea was even like.
Yeah, it's never really explained if it's romantic love, if it's sort of an infatuation, if it's sort of like a type of love where she just respects him a lot. It's very much like a instantly, almost love at first sight type of, oh, I love you so much because you take care of kids. That's about it.
Yeah, and I think they did only have like one or two conversations about that at the orphanage.
And I liked Arrow at first to a degree until Fig was just completely enamored with him for no reason. And I was like, what? Like, who? Like, this guy's cool, I guess. Like, he's tall, dark, handsome, long hair, nice guy. But I mean, he's literally killed presumably hundreds of people.
He literally killed a child.
Yeah, hey, what's going on with you?
I think they sort of fell into the trap of not wanting to like waste Raven as a character. Like they didn't just want him to be Arrow's old mentor. Like they just didn't want him to do that. So they decided to give him this extra role, but it feels kind of weird.
Yeah, not just an extra role, but they pretty much made him a new character. He is two characters.
Yeah, like it's just
That
two
aren't
characters
alike.
put into one model.
And he shoots Ringo with a gun.
In the knee, like literal torture.
Yeah, like twice. And then Fig shows up and uses Dia. That's always something that you really got to avoid when you make a video game. That whole like ludonarrative dissonance thing where it's like, it's really bad in the Yakuza games. Sorry, I had a tangent. But like, if you get shot in a cutscene, you're dead. If you get shot in-game, it's like 1/16 of your HP. It's like that in Devil May Cry too.
I don't know, bro. In Yakuza, you get shot with a bullet, you fall over. That's like the worst part, because standing up from those is like obnoxious.
True. Cutscene guns in Devil May Cry? Now that's a killer.
Oh, yeah. I still think, though, like, aside from some very strange parts of the story, like the whole unexplained Zoma thing and, like, Fig's betrayal, I did enjoy it for the most part, if only because I liked the characters and their interactions.
Yeah, I have a bad habit of dismissing games if they have a bad ending or a bad ending string. It pretty much ruined the whole game for me. The fact that the last, I would say, 1/4, if not 1/3 of the game is just a complete downward spiral of everything coming undone and nothing getting explained and being bad. And the only character I came out of the other end still liking, well, two characters, Ringo and Milady. Ringo because I like her personality, and Milady because she's barely explained at all.
Didn't have a chance to fuck it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is a game that, like, the first, like, hour or so, I was like, yeah, this seems cool. Like, we're gonna get into, like, concepts about, like, societal decay and, like, the nature of the soul and shit like that. And I think that once the Covenant started to get weird, that's when I was like, okay. And then I feel like the middle chunk was, like, very fine. And then at the end, it starts to get questionable.
This game story absolutely rides and dies in how much you enjoy its cast. If you don't like the main party members, you are gonna fucking hate this story so much.
Yeah, sadly.
Yeah, like, I found that they were fine characters, but none of them really, like, clicked for me. And I think that's kind of a shame, because I'm always somebody who's, like, really into characters. Like, that's the shit that I tend to like the most. So, not having a character, even though I liked Saizo, I definitely wouldn't say he's one of my favorite characters ever. But
Top 10 S&T protagonist, Saizo.
Saizo, best ever. But yeah, no, it was just like a crew that I found was pretty okay. Like, some of their interactions are fun, like the hangouts you can do, but yeah, otherwise I didn't really get a whole lot of enjoyment out of them.
It's very lighthearted, I would say, in a weird way. They treat, there's a lot of downtime. There's a lot of interactions as though nothing's happening. And me personally, as a consumer of the media, I prefer my stories to be a little bit more serious. And that's why I think I give points to SMT5, because say what you will about that game's story, it takes itself very seriously. And it remains constant in its themes and its plot and its tools. Everything is consistent. There's the Nahobino, you ascend to the Empyrean, bing bang boom, that's the plot. No jokes, no nothing, the world's ending, we gotta sort this out. But in Soul Hackers 2, it's like, they go out drinking, which is fine, but there's a ton of character interaction that's just like, do you like dogs or cats? Oh, Arrow and Milady will never get along. Stares at camera, laugh track.
Yeah, and that's probably why I actually do like this story more, because of the smaller moments. Those were always my favorite parts about, like, the dreaded Persona games. My favorite parts of Persona 4, despite, like, a lot of people not liking them, were just the scenes of the characters just doing things, just, like, hanging out and being themselves, getting along, whatever. And I think that's probably my favorite part of Soul Hackers 2 as well, just having the characters do things together. Because I do like this cast. It's just I wish that some of them did more than they ended up doing. And I can't really say that about the characters from SMT5, because there's not enough time to explore what any of them really want. Like, Yuzuru, who?
Yeah.
Like, who the fuck was he?
Yeah, that game definitely, I think, suffers from, like, weak characters. Like, at least to me, I think that, like, on kind of the other end of the spectrum, I would have liked this game's story more if it was just schlock. Like, if this was just, like, really goofy, hokey, if it was like a Devil Survivor 2 or, like, an SMT4 Apocalypse kind of story where it's like, this is really goofy and it knows it. But I feel like overall it plays itself pretty serious. Like, this feels like an earnest attempt at telling a good story that I feel like, at least for me, it didn't really work out so well.
Yeah, I just thought it was fine. Like, I liked it, I guess. Like,
Yeah, it seems like it's taking itself seriously, and I do agree that at some points it tries its darndest. Like when Ringo gets shot, when it seems like the whole all is lost moment where you lose all of the covenants. It tries to take itself very seriously, but it never reaches that point where you actually feel something. You never feel in danger. You never feel like you're ahead of anyone or significantly behind. You feel like it's like almost like a roller coaster of ups and downs, and
there's no urgency.
It all kind of gets sorted. Yeah, there's no urgency. There's no nothing.
I don't want to make this like the SMT5 versus Soul Hackers 2 debate video, but like, I at the very least appreciate that this game felt like it had a much more concrete direction.
Oh, definitely. Like, I think I can at least give it that, is that this feels like, how do I explain this? This feels like a game that didn't have troubled development, you know?
Yeah.
Whereas I think if you look at SMT5, you can definitely kind of feel the like, yeah, this took like several years to come out. It was probably only like actually maybe 2 years of like development. Whereas this feels like a real like, all right, let's make this game, all right, it's done kind of thing.
SMT5 feels like it's missing parts of the story, while Soul Hackers 2 just didn't like flesh out the stuff that was there. Like if you know what that, like you know what I mean by that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, I know you say that, but I would in some ways disagree because I feel like this is kind of a scattershot plot where they give you the whole societal collapse, culture stagnating, and they also throw, oh, here's the covenants, here's this, and then they also say, okay, there's a singularity. What does this mean for humanity? And there's so many things that are like, wouldn't it be cool if this was real, or wow, this is crazy, or each of these covenants, singularity, cultural stagnation could have been individual games if they hit the nail on the head with one plot point and it was just good instead of there being like 3 and all of them are like kind of bad. I think it would have been better.
Yeah, I agree. I think I should have had a much larger focus on those background themes rather than them just being, I guess, world building supplements. In a way, it's kind of like what I think about the first one, where the shit that wasn't in front of the player was way more interesting than the stuff that was actually like happening.
Yeah, and I mean, I'll sit here and I'll say 6 Ways to Sunday why the original Soul Hackers is bad, but I will say the plot in theory is pretty cool. They're making microchips, stealing souls, bam, that's cool. You're a hacker group, you're trying to uncover this, you're trying to, you know, infiltrate this big company that, oh, it was actually run by demons, big surprise. It's kind of cool in theory, despite how bad the game is. But this one, not so much. There's no real theme, there's no real plot point that you can latch onto and say, oh, this is what this game is about.
Yeah, I think it's also a case where like I don't feel like there's a lot to like debate about. Like I think that's something that's definitely kept, especially SMT, like very prevalent, is like you can have the law of chaos debate until the end of time. Like that's kind of just the story of humanity. Whereas it's like if I was like, all right, do you guys think Yatagarasu or the Phantom Society was right? I feel like I don't give a shit. Like, I literally don't care to argue it.
Anyways, I think that sort of just wraps it all up. The last question we have here before our final thoughts is, do you think this is a good direction for the series, Devil Summoner or otherwise? Or do you think that Atlus should focus more on spin-off titles or mainline games?
It's a very difficult question to answer because even over the course of this conversation, I've changed my mind so much. I realized that if you've been listening to this whole thing, in the beginning, I was kind of positive on the game, even more so than my friends here. And then by the end, I'm kind of tearing this game a new one. But it is still, I would say, a good direction for the series to explore, to branch out and explore spin-offs more, have more small-scale projects, maybe lower budget, because some of the best games in SMT were cool side projects that were lower budget. I want to incentivize making more of them. This one maybe was a swing and a miss, but please give us a Raiden 3.
Just hear him just like clutching his hands together.
Anything for Raiden 3, please. Or Devil Survivor 3, either one.
I think for the sake of the Japanese economy, they should make Devil Survivor 3. I think that would be a wise idea.
Yeah.
But yeah, as for me, like, I don't know. I feel like this is definitely a game I felt like ranged from like, yeah, this is okay to like, I didn't like it. So I would probably prefer if they don't like make a game that's too much in this vein again. Like, I'm all right with them experimenting with like Sabbaths and stuff. But yeah, I don't know. This was one that really didn't do a whole lot for me.
Yeah, I think it's fine. Like I know it's like this entire time we basically just called this the Fuck Soul Hackers 2 video, but like not really. Like I don't even dislike the game. I just think it has a lot of problems. And it's just negative shit that's like sticks in your brain longer, because a lot of the positive stuff is mostly just, oh, I like Demon Fusion, it's still there, or oh, I like just the general core mechanics, like despite them being very derivative. And maybe this could have been a good opportunity to like reintroduce some old Devil Summoner ideas into the modern age. Like not directly adapt like Soul Hacker stuff like Magnetite, but like do something inspired by it. Like I think that could have been an interesting thing to do, but I don't know. But in terms of like future direction for the series, I at the very least appreciated that they decided to attempt to do something new with an old IP. And I hope that this does not mean the end for SMT spin-offs if they just don't do well.
Yeah, at least to me, I think that like the decision to make like Soul Hackers their like experimentation child was kind of weird to begin with. It's like, you know, that's a game that's so far removed from like modern aesthetics and game design and basically everything that's like I feel like there were many other candidates that you could have like, just like Strange Journey 2, I don't know, would have been something that could have existed instead of this, but
Yeah, it's mostly just like a case of them trying to like, I guess, tie it in with a somewhat popular name in the series despite how old it is. I just hope that they don't look at like potential sales of this and decide not to make any more, because this game is fairly low budgeted. It definitely feels like it.
yeah, this absolutely feels like I wouldn't say like a low budget game, but this isn't like one of their big projects, you know.
Yeah.
This isn't like a Persona 6 or anything.
Yeah, this doesn't have those SMT $5, like even just side by side. But as a whole, yeah, I enjoyed it. I'm probably not going to play it again for a bit, but I had a good time and would recommend anyone to probably check it out if they are interested, but maybe on sale. This definitely isn't like one of those, oh, I gotta rush out, this is gonna be my big game for August, the big game for Q4 of the year, baby, let's go. Nah, you might be better off somewhere else.
Yeah, that's kind of like how I feel about it, is that like, yeah, it's worth checking out. Like, if you're just a fusion like fanatic and you're just like a fan of collecting demons and you're just looking for something to play, you're like, yeah, if you drop $40, $30 on it, it's like, yeah, it's a good time.
Yeah, it's like biggest. Oh, go on.
Oh, I'll just say I'm not too big on this game, which is heartbreaking to say because this is the first time I got like one of those content creator boxes on Twitter, and I was really excited about it, but it just wasn't what I wanted at all. It's okay. If you want a game literally just to eat up time in your life, put it on, explore the Soul Matrix, put on a podcast like Nam said.
It's really good if for facilitating the listening to of podcasts, yeah.
Yeah, you don't need to pay attention to it. Trust me, you're not missing anything too much. The story is it's just, it exists. There's no grand philosophical debates like Nocturne or Strange Journey. There's no new themes placed into SMT. There's no new real gameplay gimmicks because the Sabbath system is so similar to TMS or Strange Journey. But if you got time you want to spend exploring and getting demons, pick it up.
What's the Western twang?
What?
A little fucking Western twang over there. Pick it up.
Pick it up if you want it.
Yo, you know what'd be sick? Like Devil Summoner, but cowboys.
Oh yeah, it's like Wild Arms.
Forget the Cyberpunk. We should do like that would actually be sick. Now that I'm thinking about it, like a Western SMT. Like they have like cops that are revolvers. That'd be awesome.
That'd be cool. With like more Native American deities.
Yeah, yeah.
Then the big twist was that it took place in a town outside of Amami City, and they cross over.
Whoa.
What kind of messed up geography is this, where you have Amami City next to like
a desert?
Fucking Red Dead Redemption.
This is Pangea.
It's like the world outside the walls is just ancient society, just cowboys.
That'd be kind of interesting if it's like it's so far in the future. Like you think it's like, yes, it's 1890. It's actually like 8,890. People have just gone backwards. That'd be awesome.
Anyways, I believe that's everything that we wanted to cover for this video. So thank you everyone for listening who's made it this far. I'll have the links to my friends' channels in the description below. So any last words from you guys?
It was okay.
Yeah, it alright.
That's about it.
Yeah, it alright. Yeah,
It alright.
Hey everyone, thanks for watching. I'd like to give a special shout out to all of my channel supporters whose names are on screen now. It's because of these generous people that I'm able to branch out a bit and do some experimental content like this, and I'm grateful for the support. If you want to help support the channel, you can do so through either Patreon or through channel memberships. I have a few things I can offer in return, such as early video access, a special Discord role, and even some behind the scenes content on occasion. Every donation helps, so if you're at all interested, then you can find out more by following the links in the description. I'd also like to give a huge shout out to my friends Fither and Tony for you for joining me for this discussion. It was a lot of fun shooting the shit with them, and I highly suggest you check out their channels if you're looking for some more quality Megaten content in your life. You can find both channels in the pinned comment and the description. The next video is either going to be my official review of Soul Hackers 2 or a video on Neo The World Ends With You. I'm not quite sure which one will be out first, but I'll try to have them both finished before November. If you want to stay up to date with that and other upcoming videos, then I highly suggest you join my Discord server that's is linked on both my channel homepage and in the description of this video. Once again, thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to see you all next time.